The architecture of anxiety. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Rachel, and today I'll be talking about anxiety. I literally talk about and explain this almost daily, so thought I would share it with you. If you have ever wondered what anxiety is, why it happens, or if your anxiety is normal or not, stick around. I'll explain. The misunderstood sentinel. We use the word anxiety every single day. We say we're anxious about a meeting, a first date, or the state of the world. But for something so ubiquitous, it's deeply misunderstood. Most people see anxiety as a flaw, a glitch in the system that needs to be deleted. But today, we're going to flip that script. We're going to look under the hood of the human brain to see that anxiety isn't a broken part of you. It is, in fact, one of the most sophisticated survival tools ever designed. Section 1. The biology of better safe than sorry. To understand anxiety, we have to talk about the fight or flight response. This is your body's primitive security system. Evolutionarily, your brain has one primary job: keep you alive until tomorrow. It doesn't care if you're happy or relaxed. It cares if you're safe. The mechanism. Deep in the temporal lobe of your brain sits the amygdala. Think of this as your internal smoke detector. When it senses a threat, it sends an instant distress signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus acts like a command center, communicating with the rest of the body through the autonomic nervous system. It triggers the adrenal glands to flood your bloodstream with adrenaline, epinephrine, the go juice, cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps the engine revving. Section 2. The physical transformation. When this system activates, your body undergoes a massive physiological shift. If you've ever felt your heart race or your palms sweat, you aren't going crazy. Your body is preparing for a physical battle. Heart rate increases, pumping blood to your large muscles so you can run faster or punch harder. Respiration quickens, taking in more oxygen to fuel those muscles. Vision sharpens. Your pupils dilate to let in more light, and your peripheral vision narrows, tunnel vision, so you can focus solely on the threat. Digestion shuts down. Why waste energy digesting lunch when you might be lunch? This is why you get butterflies or a dry mouth. Key concept. This response is vital. If a car swerves into your lane, you don't want to think about it. You want your fight or flight response to take the wheel. In that moment, anxiety is your best friend. Section 3. Real versus perceived danger. Here's the catch, and the reason so many of us struggle today. The amygdala cannot tell the difference between a tiger and a tight deadline. Your brain processes danger in two ways. Real danger, an immediate physical threat, the aforementioned car swerving. Perceived danger, a thought, a memory, or a what if. If you are lying in bed at 2 a.m. worrying about your mortgage, your brain releases the same chemicals it would if a predator were outside your bedroom door. Your body is ready to fight a lion, but there is no lion to fight. You're just lying there with a racing heart and nowhere for that energy to go. That is the experience of anxiety. Section 4. When a feature becomes a bug. This leads us to the billion-dollar question. When does normal anxiety become an anxiety disorder? Normal anxiety is situational. It's the spike you feel before a public speech that fades once the speech is over. It's functional. It helps you prepare. Anxiety disorders. This is when the smoke detector is stuck in the on position. In a clinical disorder, the system is hypersensitized. The brain begins to perceive everything as a threat. It's no longer responding to the environment, it's responding to its own internal alarm. The comparison. Imagine your car alarm. You want it to go off if someone smashes the window, real danger. You don't want it to go off every time a leaf blows past the windshield, perceived disordered danger. A disorder is essentially a calibration error of the nervous system. Section 5. Summary for the patient and provider. If you are listening to this and you struggle with chronic anxiety, I want you to hear this clearly. Your brain isn't broken. It's actually trying to save your life. It's just doing it at the wrong time. We have 21st century lives being managed by a Stone Age brain. Understanding that this is a physiological process, a survival circuit that has been miscalibrated, is the first step toward dialing it back down. Next time you feel that surge of panic, try talking to your brain. Thank you for trying to protect me, but there is no tiger here. We are safe. Next, let's talk about how to recalibrate that alarm system through neuroplasticity and regulation techniques. The plastic brain. We established that anxiety isn't a sign of a broken brain, but an overprotective one. We looked at the amygdala, that internal smoke detector, and how it can get stuck in the on position, treating daily stress like a life-threatening predator. Now, let's talk about hope, specifically neuroplasticity. This is the scientific truth that your brain is not a static organ. It is like a muscle that can be reshaped. If your brain learned to be hypervigilant, it can learn to be calm again. Section 1. Breaking the feedback loop. When we have an anxiety disorder, we are stuck in a feedback loop. The brain perceives danger, the body reacts with adrenaline, the mind notices the racing heart and panics further, the brain sends more adrenaline. To stop this, we have to intervene at two levels: the top down, the mind, and the bottom up, the body. Section 2. The bottom up approach. Speaking to the amygdala. You cannot talk your way out of a panic attack using logic alone. Why? Because when the fight or flight system is active, the prefrontal cortex, your logical brain, is essentially offline. To reach the amygdala, you have to use the language of the body. The vagus nerve. This is the reset button of your nervous system. It runs from your brainstem through your chest and abdomen. The power of breath. By intentionally slowing your exhale, making it longer than your inhale, you send a physical signal through the vagus nerve to the brain that says, "A person being chased by a lion wouldn't breathe like this. Therefore, we must be safe." Temperature and pressure. Splashing cold water on your face or using a weighted blanket provides sensory input that forces the nervous system to ground itself in the present moment, rather than the perceived future threat. Section 3. The top-down approach. Rewiring the thought. Once the body has calmed down enough for the logical brain to come back online, we use top-down strategies. This is where we address the perceived danger. In clinical settings, we often use cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. This is the process of identifying cognitive distortions, the lies the anxious brain tells us. Catastrophizing, predicting the absolute worst-case scenario. Fortune-telling, assuming you know exactly how a future event will fail. The strategy, don't believe everything you think. When an anxious thought arises, treat it like a false alarm. You can literally say to yourself, "That's an intrusive thought, not a fact." Over time, by not reacting to these thoughts as if they are true, you weaken the neural pathways that created them. Section 4. Exposure and habituation. This is the hardest part of the work, but the most effective. If the brain is afraid of something that isn't dangerous, the only way to unlearn that fear is to face it in small, controlled doses. This is called habituation. When you stay in a situation that makes you anxious without running away, your brain eventually gets bored. It realizes, hey, we've been here for 20 minutes and we haven't died. The amygdala then turns the volume down on the alarm. For the providers listening, this is why safety behaviors, like avoiding the store or needing a specific person with you, can actually keep the disorder alive. They reinforce the idea that the situation is dangerous. Section 5. Summary. The architecture of calm. Recalibrating your nervous system isn't about getting rid of anxiety. Remember, we need that survival circuit. It's about building a brain that knows when to turn the alarm off. It takes time. You are building new roads in your brain. Every time you breathe through a spike of panic or challenge a fearful thought, you are laying down the pavement for a calmer future. Section 6. When all else fails, the biological bridge. We've talked about the bottom-up physical resets and the top-down mental shifts. But we have to be honest. Sometimes the alarm system isn't just miscalibrated, it's overwhelmed. If you find that you can't practice your breathing because you're in a constant state of panic, or you can't challenge your thoughts because the noise is too loud, it's time to talk about medical intervention. The chemical reality. Sometimes the neurotransmitters in our brain, things like serotonin, norepinephrine, and GABA, are out of balance. Think of these like the oil in your engine. If the oil is bone dry, no amount of careful driving is going to make the car run smoothly. Why see a psychiatric provider? A psychiatric provider, a psychiatrist, nurse practitioner, or specialized PA, isn't there to numb you. They are there to help bridge the gap. For many, medication acts like a floor. It provides enough stability so that you can actually stand up and engage with the therapy and tools we've discussed. Suitable candidates. Medication isn't for everyone, and it isn't always the first step. But if your anxiety is pervasive, meaning it's there regardless of your environment, or if it's causing significant functional impairment, like being unable to work or leave the house, you may be a candidate for pharmacological support. The goal of medication. It's often not about taking a pill to fix the problem forever. It's about lowering the baseline of your nervous system's arousal. When the chemical noise is lowered, the brain finally has the space to learn those new, calm pathways we talked about in the last section. The stigma gap. For the providers and patients listening, medication for an anxiety disorder is no different than insulin for diabetes or a cast for a broken bone. It is an external tool used to support a biological system that is struggling to regulate itself. If you've tried the deep breathing, you've tried the logic, and you're still white-knuckling your way through every hour, please hear this. You do not get extra points for suffering. Seeking a psychiatric evaluation is a sign of being a proactive steward of your own health. Anxiety is a survival mechanism that occasionally loses its way. Whether you recalibrate through breath, through cognitive shifts, or through the support of modern medicine, the goal is the same: to move from a state of survival back into a state of living. Be patient with your biology. It's been trying to protect you for a long time.